So Senator Rick Scott got into it with Joe Biden during the State of the Union address, and a big topic was Social Security. So Rick Scott here is going to get absolutely grilled on CNN. Check it out.
You say he's twisting your words, but he said, quote, some Republicans want Social Security and Medicare to sunset. You wrote, I suggest the following. All federal legislation sunsets in 5 years. If a law is worth keeping, Congress can pass it again. You are a Republican. Medicare and Social Security are federal legislation. And you said if it's worth keeping, Congress can pass it again. But no one, I don't think, has confidence that if something comes up for a vote every 5 years, that Congress is going to be able to make sure it stays, especially something that vitally important to so many.
Kaitlan, I've been clear. I'm not going to do it. In contrast, let's remember, just a few months ago, all Democrats voted and Joe Biden signed a bill to cut $280 billion out of Medicare. $280 billion cut out of Medicare.
That's not true, Senator. We talked about this the other day when you were on the program, that what it passed in the Inflation Reduction Act, reducing drug spending, is not cutting benefits to Medicare.
Okay, Kaitlan, let me just read you something Jake Tapper said. This is back when Republicans were proposing reducing the cost of Medicaid. He said, Jake Tapper said, I know the Trump administration is excited that Medicaid will go back to the states where they have more control and can experiment and be more efficient. But without question, $880 billion is a cut. So is it a cut when Republicans do it, but not a cut when Democrats propose savings?
But what you're referencing, Senator, I looked into this because we talked about it the other day, and even the senior VP for AARP's government affairs said this has been fact-checked repeatedly and shown to be a lie. In fact, this bill saves Medicare nearly $300 billion by lowering the price of drugs. Only drug companies would say that saving people money is a bad thing.
But what about what Jake Tapper said? I mean, what Jake Tapper said...
Was Jake Tapper referring to the Inflation Reduction Act? I don't think he was.
He was referring to a reduction in costs in Medicaid. So that's a cut.
How does that have to do with what Democrats passed last fall? This is a...
So what I want to do is get rid of wasteful programs that we never review up here. They get passed. Nobody ever looks at them.
Like
and
which
I've been very clear. Say it again, please.
Which programs?
Oh, there's a variety of things. We don't review anything. When I was governor of Florida, there's 4,000 lines of the budget. Every year I went through the budget, say, are we getting a return on your tax dollars? I mean, we don't have unlimited dollars. I mean, we can't just keep borrowing money the way we've been borrowing money. We've got to say what's in a program that makes some sense and what's programs that don't. I mean, 87,000 more IRS agents, something I would cut immediately.
It's 87,000 more.
There's a whole bunch
IRS
of Green New Deal
employees.
stuff that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, so he just got completely exposed, and we're really going to break this down because there's something really interesting about this guy. He looks really, really soulless, but he's trying to say basically this whole sunset clause thing, which, by the way, Andrew Yang was a huge fan of. That was part of his plan. But this sunset clause is like a new thing that Republicans have come up with that's like a way to skirt these kinds of popular issues. Because you can't, for something like Social Security, you can't come against Social Security. You can't come out against Social Security because it's super, super popular. And who's the biggest voting bloc? It's geezers, right? Geezers are the ones who are getting Social Security. So you can't come out and say it. So like I had this really long reading that I had to do for George W. Bush. And so George W. Bush, what he would do is he would come to something with a policy position. He would have pollsters come up with these specific words that he could use that polled better. So he wouldn't say Social Security when talking about privatizing. He would say retirement security. And he would say freedom and all these words that were super perfectly poll tested. But he was the idiot guy, but really he was actually really smart. So this is what Republicans have to do. So the sunset clause is also something in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed in 2017. Remember that there was a sunset clause on the measly tax cuts that were given to the lower class people. It was measly anyways. 83% of the tax cuts went to the 1%. It was a complete scam. But even like those lower tax cuts, there's a sunset clause on those in 10 years. And so it's already been 6. So in 4 years or whatever, it's going to be gone. That's going to be gone. And dude, you know how gridlocked the government is now, dude? The government does basically nothing. It's basically a non-functional institution at this point. So it's a perfect way because and the Republicans are like historically obstructionist. I think Mitch McConnell's obstructionism like broke records and it's just never been seen in history before. Like it's crazy. So he knows that they can just do that. And he knows how useless and dog shit Congress is. They won't do anything. So So this is their new way to skirt it. Look at this fucking soulless fuck. And be ready. There's a surprise I have for you at the end. You're just going to love to hear. So you're going to have to wait out for it. But the Medicare funding cut thing is a lie. So what he's trying to say is, so what they're going to do is, right, part of, I guess, the IRA, is part of like the plan of Medicare for all. You have, in Canada, they do this, right? The government, they negotiate with drug companies to set the prices for drugs. And so this would allow the government to have you would actually have more power to regulate drug prices, because like the way supply demand works, right? Just basic economics, like elasticity of demand, you can't actually get to a proper equilibrium price point if you don't have the ability to have like elasticity of demand. If you don't have elasticity of demand, you're going to need that product no matter what. So you don't really have any negotiating power. So the idea is, by introducing the government, a powerful entity that speaks upon your behalf, you're able to bring that equilibrium price point down by having a more powerful entity bargaining for you, right? And so he's saying that the estimated cuts in drug prices paid by people with Medicare are Medicare funding cuts. Are you fucking kidding me? Look at this slimy fucking fuck. Holy shit, that is hilarious. A cut in $280 billion of drug prices, he's saying, is a Medicare cut, which is absolutely hilarious. What a slimy fuck this guy is. And then I don't even know what he's talking about when he's talking about the Jake Tapper cut or whatever he's talking about. I think he's talking about like how, basically, when you give the states more power, I think Medicare is fully federal funded, and then Medicaid is obviously the state level insurance. That's for poor people. Medicare is the old people insurance. That's at the federal level. And so Medicare, I think, is fully federally funded, and then Medicaid is split between the states and the federal government. And so, when you give more Medicaid, I think, which is what, the bill was doing, that bill that Jake Tapper signing was doing, they're going to cut it. And so this is one of the big problems with Bill Clinton's welfare block grants. You would give, instead of having like federal statute that specifically said this money is going to Social Security or this and this, you would give a state a welfare block grant. And it was just like they could just do whatever they wanted with it. And so a Republican state isn't going to actually use it for like actual welfare, right? That was a big danger. So that's another thing. So I don't even know what he's citing, but this guy is one of the slimiest fucks I've actually seen. What a slimy piece of shit. Holy fuck. And obviously, let's ask the question, why do people care so much about Social Security? Is it because people just love old people and they want to see them do well? And they just want old people to be able to afford drugs and, be able to afford food. They don't give a fuck. The reason why is political strategy. It's all just politics. So why do they care so much? It's because of two things. Okay, one of them is old people are obviously the biggest voting bloc, in the nation. But also number two, this is something I'm going over in one of my political science classes right now, actually, is talking about how we were going over media. And so it's like going over who watches the State of the Union. And guess who it is? It's all geezers, right? It's all old people. So all the people watching the State of the Union address are the people using Social Security. So obviously you want to make that point. It's fucking brilliant genius. I wish that Bernie had more of this kind of political savvy in the 2020 election. It really angers me that he didn't really get on the nuts of that and really start running TV ads in Florida and these places. He didn't run any TV ads, period. So he's putting out all these Twitter ads, and none of the old people that are on Social Security are going to see those ads. What are you doing, Bernie? Was machst du? What are you doing, dog? Anyways, there's just political genius on Biden's part, dude. Just straight pure fucking genius. Anyways, and then the 87,000 IRS agents bullshit. The 87,000 IRS agents is complete bullshit. A bunch of them are going to be replacing retiring people, and it was over a long period of time. I have a video on that. You can just search it up. Total bullshit made up. And the IRS agents that they were going to fund, the IRS can't go after rich people who aren't paying their taxes because they don't have enough funding to go after those people. It's super cheap to do audits of poor people because it's very easy to do. Those tax documents that these rich people have is crazy, and so you have to spend so much money and manpower on investigating them. So they're like, hey, let's give them more money to go get the money back from those rich people who are defrauding us with taxes. 87,000 IRS agents to get poor people. No, they're lying again, dude. These guys are pathological liars, but this guy's a really dirty fuck. But here's the surprise. Check this out. PolitiFact. The Florida Democratic Party says Rick Scott, quote, oversaw the largest Medicare fraud in the nation's history. And guess what their rating is? The rating is mostly true. He literally oversaw the largest Medicare fraud in the nation's history, dude. This is absolutely hilarious. So it's like, this guy is just a complete massive piece of shit that you can see here, dude. He's literally the biggest here. The complete fraud. This is just a complete piece of shit, this guy. He's the biggest, basically the biggest fraud. And it says, Florida Democratic Party said Scott oversaw the largest Medicare fraud in the nation's history. The Columbia/HCA settlement has since been surpassed in dollar value, though the bigger case involved Medicare somewhat less directly. Because the Democratic Party could have been a bit more specific in wording by saying that Scott oversaw a large Medicare fraud at the time. We rate this claim mostly true. And PolitiFact is pretty savage when it comes to this kind of stuff. And so they'll usually debunk stuff all the time. So it's like, dude, this guy is just like a massive piece of shit. Just completely frauding them out. They were fined $1.7 billion for Medicare fraud when he was the CEO. It says Democrats were referring to Scott's prior tenure as CEO of Columbia/HCA about a decade ago when the hospital company was fined $1.7 billion for Medicare fraud. Dude, that's hilarious. This guy is actually scary. Look at how soulless he looks, dude. He just looks like the guy just like, we'll just kill you, dude. Like, it's crazy. What a scary guy. Fuck this guy, man.